Welcome to another live stream by me, Ari Dosset, or as you already know me, Rashid. Listen, in this live stream, I'm going to highlight something that a lot of people simply don't want to hear, even believers. And by the way, I'm outside now, enjoying the warm weather. So, so that's why you may hear cars in the background. Well, they're not that loud, but just so I warn you why you hear cars in the background because I'm outside right now. Look, connecting the dots. What does that mean? It simply means coming to a proper conclusion. Now, there's nothing wrong with coming to a proper conclusion. To come to a proper conclusion, you must examine the proof and the context. For example, if someone if someone comes home and they see that their door is broken, what is the first conclusion they will get to based on the proof that their door is broken? Let me know in the live chat. What is the first conclusion they will come up with based on the proof, not evidence, but proof that the door is broken? Let me know in the live chat. Oh, I see someone from the UK over here. Welcome over here. Mhm. What is the first conclusion he will come to after coming home and seeing that his door is broken? Let me know in the live chat. I'll wait for 1 minute for your answer. Yes, someone said it, unlawful forced entry. Now, there are some options. It can be that burglars indeed broke in to and robbed the place. It can be that it was a bailiff that came with the officers and a key maker and they broke in. That can also be the case. Then it's a lawful entry, so called. But you don't know that based on just knowing that the door is broken into. Now, okay, the door's broken into. Someone forced themselves into the residency. So, if you want to figure out why they broke into the residency, now you need to know more about the background of the individual. If you find out later this individual was dealing drugs and that were people looking for him in the criminal world, now you have a better context. Now you think, so likely it's people that he owes money or is envious people from the streets who think that he has drugs in his house. Those are the ones that broke in. So, yes, the proof is there that people broke in, but you don't know the full story of why they broke in and what was going on. To do that, you need to examine the context. Now, what if someone comes home and sees that the door is broken, completely broken, it's open and broken? What they say, it's likely the winds that caused the door to open. You would think, how can a strong wind cause the door to be broken like that? What about the doors of all the other people around? If it's the hard wind, why did the wind cause their doors to be broken and open like that? Now, if someone would say that it was the wind that caused the door to open, you would consider them delusional, which is what they actually are. Because anyone can see the proof clearly that someone broke into your house. Now, in this case, when someone admits that someone broke into their house, they're connecting the dots. Now, why am I making a live stream about connecting the dots? It is because often people don't want you to connect the dots of what's going on. Because here's the thing, worldlings are fleers. They want to flee from everything. Worldlings want to be left alone all the time. Worldlings have this delusional expectation that they can get the benefits of life without participating in life. So world lives are all about fleeing from stuff. Now, when people flee from things, it will cause dysfunction. And then they also want to flee from the dysfunction. So at some point, you can't flee anymore because the dysfunctions keep increasing, and now they have to deal with it. What happens in the world then is that people don't want to face the fact that it's them that caused the dysfunction as a group by fleeing all the time. So they don't want you to figure out that they are neglectful. No, they want you to think that everything's caused by some criminals in the streets, or it's caused by some witchcraft potion or whatever. Now, witchcraft potions and the criminals may be involved, but it could have happened because of the neglect of the community. For example, a wife that's cheating on her husband doesn't want you to connect the dots while she's often away from home. So, if you are about to figure out that she might be cheating on her husband and she will try to discredit you or put you in the next daylight just to divert attention away from her. It's simple as that. In the world, connecting the dots can be dangerous because when you connect the dots and you come to the conclusion that there's foul play going on behalf of the crowd, you better watch out with or be open about it because the crowd may turn on you. So, how many of you have experienced this? That you connect the dots about a situation, but the moment you opened your mouth and expressed the legitimate conclusion, you got backlash. Where it was angry faces, or people looking for you to beat you up, or people threatening you, how many of you faced backlash after connecting the dots? How many of you? Let me know in the live chat. So, when you face backlash for coming to the proper conclusion, the conclusion based on proof, not based on suggestion or based on theories. When you come with conclusions based on proof, even if the conclusion doesn't paint the whole picture of what's going on, it's still a legitimate conclusion based on proof. When you get backlash for that, then you know that the community is in on something. Indeed, Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not going to talk that much about the Epstein case because that it's obvious going on with Epstein. Anyone who looks at the Epstein case can connect the dots and see that people are trying to cover up what's going on. It was only when it became too overwhelming, when the proof was too overwhelming and too open to the public, that they took action against Epstein. If they were able to cover up the proof of what Epstein was doing, Epstein will still be active till this day. Look, whether he committed suicide or not does not matter. They turned on him because they wanted to save their own behinds. So they were all in on Epstein. They all knew what he was doing and they all covered it up. But when it became too open to save themselves, they turned on Epstein. So what I'm teaching you here, what I'm recommending you and advising you is that anytime you connect the dots about a situation and you figure out that the conclusion is a bad one or a sad one, keep it to yourself and check first if the people around you are ready and willing to accept that conclusion. Look, connected dots can be a good thing also. For example, if you've been praying for deliverance from danger and suddenly some of your friends suddenly leave you out of the blue, then you connect the dots. You prayed over and over again for deliverance from danger, and certain people suddenly leave your life. Then you know that those people didn't mean you well or they were liabilities. So connected dots doesn't have to be a negative thing. So connected dots can also be a positive thing. You can also come to a good conclusion that's encouraging. But in this backwards world, even positive conclusions that signify good news can be taken as an offense. Yes, you have people that are offended by good news. such people exist. They can't handle you having good news. They are miserable, so they expect the world to be miserable with them. Yes, Garden of Love, whoever you are, that's true. There are there are a lot of uh, creeps that lurk after children in the Netherlands alone. That's true. But A, don't talk about this in public because the public here will deny it, as they've been denying for decades. But okay, what what you do when you connect the dots about the situation is keep the conclusion to yourself first. Okay, let me give an example. Let's say, let's take the example of the Netherlands. Let's say that you look at the data of statistics, and statistics point out that 1 in 3 children are sexually molested while growing up. Okay, 1 in 3 children, well, that's a lot of children. And then you also notice that there are a lot of people with psychological problems in the country. So you see one fact, 1 in 3 children, that's an estimate, are sexually molested, and you have a lot of adults with psychological issues. And a lot of people also are addicted to drugs and alcohol. Now, you can connect the dots, especially look at statistics that the amount of depressed people increase, but the number of statistics of sexually molested children remains the same. Now you can connect the dots saying that many of those abused children turned into defective adults with psychological issues. That's true. Absolutely. That's the right conclusion to come to. Because no adult just ends up with long-term psychological issues. It must be caused somehow, either by trauma during adulthood, or it can be because of trauma in the childhood that couldn't be processed. So you come to the conclusion that there's a lot of child abuse going on, especially sexual abuse of children, and that's why you have so many defective adults. So that's the right conclusion. Okay. But then you look further and you realize, hold on a minute. Why is it that there is people don't talk about this? If the statistics are so high over and over again, that shows you that it's consistent, that there's a big problem with child molestation. That means there are many adults molesting children in the country. But then you look at um, the focus of the police, and the police is focused on drugs, on arresting drug dealers. But then you realize, hold on a minute, why is the police so focused on drug dealers, but don't spend time um, in destroying child pornography syndicates? So you realize, hold on a minute. So this means that the people know very well that this is going on because 1 in 3 children, that will be 1 in 3 or a quarter of all the adults will have long-term psychological issues due to sexual molestation when they were children. That means that almost everyone in the country knows at least someone who was sexually molested as a child. So that means that the perpetrators must also be known to the public. And that means that the public is in on keeping this silent. That means that also the police is in on not discussing it. That is the logical and realistic conclusion you come to. If you come to this conclusion, don't just go out there and say it to people in your social circle, because they may be offended or they may take offense what you're saying. What you do is you can ask a question saying, hey guys, I watched the news lately and they said that 1 in 3 children are sexually molested over here. Man, that's quite high, man. So introduce the subjects and check their reaction. And if they have a receiving reaction saying, what? 1 in 3? Whoa. And then you say, well, I hope the police is making work of it. So you introduce the subject little by little, see how they respond or how they react. If the reactions are fake or the reactions are declining the subject, then keep your mouth shut. Those people are not willing to face what's going on, and you mentioning what's going on is only going to trigger violence and harm upon you. Okay, for example, let's say you have a best friend, okay? And her husband is often away from home. So you may think, okay, the husband may be working to provide for the family, but then you see the husband with another woman at the railway station, and they were kissing, were quite close. Now, you don't need any more proof than that. So you realize that the husband of your best friend is cheating. But then you also find out that he's been telling his wife, that is your best friend, that he's been working over hours. But then you see that he's not being paid for those over hours. So who's overworking at the office and they're not paid for it? That's quite weird. This has been going on for 3 months already. So 3 months you've been overworking extra hours, but you're not being paid. So that alone should alert the wife something is wrong here. So, but you actually saw the husband with another woman. Now, when you approach your wife, you just tell her, "Hey, I saw your husband in town with another woman. They were kissing, tongue kissing, all of that in public." Don't do that. Ask her, "How's your husband doing?" Just ask about it. And said, she would say, things are going well, just overworking a lot. Then you ask, how long is he overworking? Oh, it's been going on for a few months. He's still not paid for it, but he's working on it. Now you know enough. Now you know that that best friend of yours or that wife is not willing to face reality. Keep your mouth shut. That doesn't mean you're in on the cheating of the husband. It simply means that you have hinted to her already that something is wrong. If she refuses to take the hint, then that's on her for not wanting to take the hint seriously. And by the way, even without your hint, you should be aware that something is off. Look, when it comes to communicating with people, just be realistic. Don't just escalate with the information on someone. First of all, if information is painful or hurtful, you may overwhelm them emotionally. And you don't want that, because that will not bring forth any good results. If the if the fact that you want to mention is so obvious, then you know that people have difficulty admitting it. So don't just escalate with the information. Look, if a building is on fire and there are people in the building, then you can escalate with information saying, "Hey, the building's on fire, we need to get out of here." Or if a ship is sinking and people don't realize it, and tell, "Hey, the ship is sinking, come on, we need to get out of here." Or if you see someone pulling a gun, then you can scream and say, "Hey, he has a gun." You can warn the people. So when there's imminent direct danger, you should escalate with information just for safety's sake. You get me? But if there's not imminent direct danger, then don't escalate with information. Check first if they're willing and ready to deal with the information. Always do that. The error we often make, the error we have is that we often escalate with information. Not only will you cause some emotional disturbance in some people because it overwhelms them, but also people tend to blame you for shocking them. Now, if the news is shocking, it's the news that shocked them, not you, the messenger. But because some news is so shocking, even if you bring it in a soft and polite way, they will still shock people. So always check first if people are willing to receive and deal with the news. Whether it's someone's husband that's cheating or someone's wife is cheating, or maybe it is that people are setting someone up, or whether it is that the government is lying about something, or whether it is that people are in on child molestation, whatever it is, check first if people are willing to deal with the issue. For example, I don't address the child molestation in the Netherlands that often. You know why? Let me tell you why. It has been addressed for years by journalists, and still people don't pick up on it. You have this former politician who was even wanted in Turkey for molesting underage boys. But the Dutch prime minister as well as the Dutch government did their utmost best to get them free from Turkey. I'm not going to mention his name right now because people will call me conspiracy theorist, all that crap. Look it up for yourself. Some of you may know who I'm talking about. Even on TV, there was a whole documentary of people in the courthouse saying that there's some corruption going on because the files of the case just disappears when it comes to this guy. So everyone knew for years, since 2014, that it's a cover-up. Until this day, this man is walking out freely and he doesn't face any consequences for molesting all those boys all those years. And there's another thing. When there were riots in the Netherlands, due to the curfew that was installed at the end of last year, there were riots and many businesses were vandalized. The Dutch public went on social media escalating in anger against the rioters, saying, "You guys are not heroes, you guys are pathetic, is that you should never touch the property of other people who raised you," and all of that. Okay, but here's the thing. Months before that, there were pedo hunters, as they call themselves, young men in the streets making fake profiles online to trick pedophiles. And once the pedophiles would come to the meeting, they would expose them and call the police. The police didn't want the young man to do this to say, because that's the job of the police. Hold on a minute. If it's the job of the police to detect such creeps, why aren't they doing it? And when it came out that simple guys from the street, without any police education, were much better in detecting child molesters or pedophiles online, why didn't the public have an outcry on social media saying, what is the police doing? Why is the police allowing all the scripts on the streets? What's going on over here? Why didn't they escalate about that issue? No, they didn't escalate publicly about the issue of child molestation, which affects many children and many adults. No, but they did over their mouth and escalate when there were riots. So they only escalate and complain about issues when when it's in their face. When it's not in their face, they don't care who it harms. So once I noticed this dynamic about these people over here, I decided I'm not going to address this issue that openly anymore, because these people don't want to face things. They're just in on it. Not all people, but in general, they are in on it. So I'm telling you here, anytime anytime there is a issue going on in the community on the long term, and the issue, it's so obvious that something is off, but people just don't talk about it, or they talk around the subject, now you know that the people are in on it. It sounds dark what I'm saying, but that is the case. You need to connect the dots, not only when it's something positive, also when it's something negative. Connect the dots. A lot of people, they do not want to connect the dots, especially when it relates to something negative. Because once they connect the dots, they have to deal with the dots. Hold on. Hold on, let me see. Can you all hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me, because the screen froze for a little while. Can you all hear me clearly? Let me know in the live chat, please. Thank you very much. Okay, you can hear me clearly. That's good. So I'm going to repeat it because you need to learn this as soon as possible. Don't escalate with information. Check first whether it's safe for you to mention the information. Hint towards the information, or hint towards the direction, and see how people respond to it. Too many people become the target of family and friends. They lose their jobs, they lose their livelihood because they just escalated information. Never do that. Jesus even taught us not to cast your pearls before swine. Unfortunately, that is something too many people do, and they're not even aware they're doing it. So look, just because someone does not address an issue doesn't mean they're in on the issue. Simply means that they are smart enough not to endanger themselves by casting their pearls before swine. Now, on this channel, I address a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about. So I do address things. But in daily life out there, I often just hint to things. And I check people's reactions, people's responses. So let's be frank here. Many people out there, they will not appreciate you when you connect the dots. They won't. They only want you to connect the dots when they want to get rid of you. When they're ignoring you and turn on you, that's when they want you to connect the dots, so that you leave them alone. When they're blaming you for their own issues, then they want you to connect the dots, so that they don't have to be confronted with how they're treating you. But even then, often they want you to connect the dots that they're the ones projecting their issues on you. They want you to think that it's your fault for how they're treating you. For you to connect the dots, there's something wrong with them. They don't want that to happen. And there's another thing you need to understand. When people are upset about an issue, I'm talking about the public. When the public is upset about an issue, and suddenly the public goes silent about the issue altogether, now you know that that issue was just a distraction. For example, if there is some scandal going on in a community and everyone is upset about the scandal, suddenly nobody talks about the scandal anymore. Now you know that the scandal was a distraction. Or it can be that a scandal is revealing more about the community than it wants to. So then everyone agrees we're not going to talk about it anymore. And that is why society wants you. That's why society wants you to be stuck financially, so that you don't have any options outside of the provisions of society. Because once you have more options financially, you can relax more. You can't be threatened that quickly with loss, with job loss, or any of that. So the more financially prosperous you are, the quicker you are to see through stuff. So that's why society is not keen on you prospering financially. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm saying as it is. Society is not keen on you prospering financially. They especially are not keen on you being in your right mind. That's why society always wants you exhausted and tired. Society wants you exhausted and tired and stressed out. Because when you are at peace, having a great time, you are in a better mental state to figure things out. Society doesn't want you to be in that state. Because if you're in that state for the long term, you will figure things out quickly. That's why society only wants you to have vacation for a maximum of 2 or 3 weeks. They don't want you to go on a 2 month, 3 month vacation. If your vacation takes too long, you're going to figure things out, how bad things are. So realize what you are dealing with always. And another advice for you: once you inform someone about what's going on, if someone was willing to receive information and you informed them, but then you see them acting like they don't know what you're talking about, stay away from that individual. If you warned someone about something serious, you gave them proof, and they received it, and later pretend like you didn't know what you're talking about, that individual may likely set you up. Just stay away from that individual as much as possible. I'm warning you. Because when people realize how deep the issues go and how rotten it is, they'll eventually become upset with you for informing them about it. So don't just look where someone is willing to receive the information. Check also where there are liabilities or not. No. Some people don't notice a warning signal someone is a liability, and they end up trusting too much to the wrong people, and they end up being set up. It happens way too often. And I don't want this to happen to you. That's why I'm warning you. Test the people first to see whether not test, examine them first to see whether they are either liabilities or able and willing to deal with the reality of what's going on. And most are not. I'm telling you, most are not. So don't be surprised if you figure things out, but most people don't want to hear what you have to say. People will call you annoying. They will call you all types of weird names. They will scream at you, escalate on you, put you on a blacklist. They will make up stories about you. They will escalate on you just because you are pointing things out that they don't want to face. I'm not going to talk about that C19 situation over here. Thank you very much. Because you know how the issues are with YouTube at the moment, so I'm not going to discuss it over here. You can discuss it in the Google photo album if you want, if you're a partaker in it. Anyway, just know I don't trust anything about that situation because the messages are quite inconsistent. That's all I'm about to say about it. Truth being told is, apart from this whole situation going on in the world right now, people want to face the roots of it. And that's why they're now so obsessed with this C19 thing. But the only reason they're obsessed with the C19 so much is because there are underlying issues that they as collectives don't want to face. So don't discuss issues with people who are not willing to face them. As simple as that. Connect the dots about other people early on. Don't wait till they've called the feds on you. Don't wait till called the cops on you. Don't wait for all of that. Because once the police is there to arrest you, it's way too late. Or once you're in the prison awaiting your sentence from a judge, it's way too late. Or once people are in front of you with a baseball bat to beat you up, it's too late. Don't wait till situation has gone way too far. Examine the folks around you regularly and connect the dots about them. Well, that's all I have for this live stream. The live stream is quite short, I know. But I'm going to give you the time to ask questions now. I'll relate to this topic. I'll give you 1 minute. If I don't get any questions in a minute, I'll close down the live stream. Anyway, thanks for all being here. I'll just wait a minute to see if I get any questions. Uh, well, lad, I don't know if you're new to this channel because I already discussed how to deal with such people. You deal with them in a practical way without getting too deeply involved with them. As simple as that. I have other videos and live streams about this. I recommend you to watch them when you have time and to take notes. Be practical with those that don't serve Christ, but never be yoked with them. All right. So I didn't see any other questions here. Thank you all for being here. Keep agreeing with Christ, and I'll see you next live stream. Be at peace.